But let's get in Anup Wadhawan, who's a former Commerce and Trade Secretary, to talk to us about everything that's happening currently. Sir, thanks so much for taking the time. We've heard even overnight certain functionaries from the Trump administration make pretty bombastic statements about India's continued purchase of Russian oil. And it seems a little hypocritical, to say the very least, when they continue to purchase things from Russia and Europe does as well. So this seems to be an excuse more than anything else. How does India respond in a measured way, as it has done in the recent past?
Yeah, you see, more importantly, it is at the sort of guidance of the West, so to say, that India started procuring Russian oil to keep prices under control in the world economy. And of course, as you're mentioning, the West is, happily buying gas and uranium and fertilizer and all these products from the Russians. So it is hypocritical. As far as, India's options are concerned, we have to, take pointed measures, firstly, to protect the sectors that are most affected. The overall impact, is not going to be too much. Our exports to the US are about $90 billion. Roughly 45 to 50% are free from tariffs. And the balance also, there'll be varied sort of situations across sectors as to what is the impact, what is the capacity to bear those tariffs. So pointedly, I think government will have to identify the pain and the injury caused to specific segments of our export community, and address their sort of hardship. And I think measures are being discussed, measures like easing export credit, measures like maybe rescheduling some of their loans, and perhaps even measures like the MEIS, which we had earlier, which was a subsidy of sorts, an incentive for exports. Something of that sort can also be on the card. So that has to be our immediate effort, and in the medium to long term, some other adjustments will happen. The US is a huge importer, and our exports to the US in those sectors are fairly huge. It won't be easy for them to replace that supply. And to the extent, they replace it with other suppliers, prices are going to go up, and that itself will create some cushion for Indian exporters to, continue supplying with maybe smaller margins. And then to the extent other suppliers come in to supply to the US, they will create space elsewhere. European Union, the rest of the developed world, Southeast Asia, Japan.
So Mr. Wadhawan, understand that the schemes, everything that the government will come up with as well on this front. Now, we're talking about the near-term disruptions that the exporters could face right now. Do you think that the global trade flow will somewhere rebalance itself in the longer term, and the economy then will not see a major setback? This is just going to be a near-term pressure zone right now.
Right, certainly. You see, the global economy will readjust over the medium term. Ultimately, what we have to see is that global demand is going to remain the same, global supply is going to remain the same. To the extent the US consumers are now meeting the demand more from other sources, there'll be some global space created for Indians to, fill that sort of space. So I'm sure that in the medium term, adjustments will happen. And then there's some other factors also. Indian exporters have, multi-country manufacturing facilities. Our textile exporters, garment exporters have facilities in, Bangladesh, Southeast Asia. So they will restructure their supply also. They'll start supplying certain markets now from overseas and supplying other markets from, Indian manufacturing. So all those adjustments will also happen. And, as I was saying elsewhere, if a barrier is created, it is like water flowing around a barrier. So trade flows are similar. To the extent the US has created a barrier, tariff barrier around itself, trade flows will get redirected around the US. And ultimately, the new equilibrium we will reach in the medium term will be very similar, but the short-term pain has to be managed, and there will be some pain, concentrated in certain sectors. But if you see the quantum of that pain in relation to the size of the Indian economy, it'll be very bearable. It's unfortunate that, a lot of pain will get inflicted on some
Yes.
sectors, and we should pointedly help them. But I'm not worried in the medium to long term. Even GDP growth, I'm not really worried.
Yes.
It'll be a small blip, if at all.
Got it.
It'll be there.
Got it. Mr. Wadhawan, thanks so much for putting that into perspective. In fact, that is exactly what certain trade bodies are also speaking about, the requirement for perhaps moratoriums on loans that they have currently taken, and essentially a helping hand from the government.